You had a talk yesterday titled "I'm Coming Home," where you basically highlighted that the EU is fucked.
Yes.
Long story short. So if you could maybe give us a brief overview of what that talk was about. What are the main challenges currently facing EU's economy, and what are the solutions you see for them?
So I titled the presentation "I'm Coming Home," and it's reference to capital. So capital that has been deployed abroad is going to be coming home. And that could be in Europe, it could be America, it could be Japan, it could be China, right? All over the world. The globalization effort where capital could go where it was best treated. Obviously right now that's the American financial markets. The national governments all need that capital back home because they're all in debt and they need to fund their bond purchases. And so I use the EU as sort of a foil to discuss this because they're probably one of the most fucked economic blocks out there around. The first chart I showed in my presentation was a chart that Mario Draghi put up in the European Competitiveness Report from last, I think, September. And it showed the price of electricity per kilowatt hour in Europe, the EU, versus China and the US. And the EU pays something like 2 to 3 times more money per kilowatt hour for electricity, for energy, than China and the US. And so when energy costs you 2 to 3 times more than your competitors, of course your products are 2 to 3 times more expensive and your industry is less competitive. And that's why we're seeing, the European economic malaise, especially in Germany, where large manufacturers who produce iconic global brands cannot compete with China because China has cheap electricity, a great workforce, and produces the highest quality, lowest price goods in the world. And it's because they focused on generating energy in the cheapest way possible. The United States is blessed with lots of natural resources. And because of that, energy costs within the United States are quite affordable as well for their industry. And as such, Europe's caught in the middle where they basically cannot compete with the US or China. And then the next thing I pointed out was essentially the mind virus that is within the European political elite, which is they are allies of America, and America actively sabotages them by essentially cutting off their sources of cheap energy, aka Russia, and then forcing them to buy expensive US energy, aka LNG. And you're seeing this play out. There's rumors that the Biden administration greenlit the destruction of the Nord Stream pipeline that helps supply cheap Russian gas to Germany. And so essentially, and Trump has been very vocal that he wants Europe to buy even more US energy. And so caught between this rock and a hard place, Europe has chosen, okay, we're going to be allies with America and buy their expensive energy, but we still want to have a very expensive welfare state. Europeans want the benefits of being European, I get it, and how you can't really mesh the two. So what do, they have to borrow money. And so I went through some ways in which I believe that capital will be restricted from investing in America. European capital will be made and mandated to invest in European companies, in European government bonds.
And what do you see as a solution here? There's a number of challenges and problems that you've pointed out to you. But what are the solutions that you would offer? What are some realistic ways EU can get out of this situation?
I approach it from the point of view of the ordinary citizen, right? And the democratic process has been subverted. Their will is not being represented. Most people just want a nice life, cheap energy, have a good life, good job, raise a family, all that kind of stuff, right? They're not really involved in all this political mumbo jumbo. But the politicians have hijacked their opinion and their vote and sort of gone on this other direction. I don't think they're going to be able to change that, the ordinary individual. However, if you are saving capital, there is a way that you can see this coming in front of you. The elites are telling you exactly how they're going to restrict your ability to earn the most amount on your savings. And you can buy things like Bitcoin. You can participate in the cryptocurrency ecosystem, decentralized finance, and all these sorts of things. You can participate in a global financial economy that sits apart from the nationalistic economy that you're going to be forced into if you hold fiat currency in a bank or insurance company or pension fund. And so that's the message that I'm trying to get out there is, okay, the political elites are going to do what they're going to do. They're telling you exactly what's going to happen. Right now you have the opportunity to take your capital and move it somewhere else. And before that opportunity is blocked, you need to move your capital into something where you control your own destiny and not somebody in Brussels or your particular nationalistic government capital.
Understood. So I guess final message you had yesterday, get out, you were talking about the capital, remove the capital and bring it on chain, for instance,
Correct.
right? Or could that be interpreted as actually physically get out of EU?
I'm not saying, I mean, people have lives, they like where they live, you know. Maybe you live in Switzerland or a nice mountain country. Do you want to leave? Probably not. But at least you can protect your assets from inflation, protect your assets from the debasement of your national currency by holding crypto. And then obviously when you need to use fiat to pay your bills, use fiat to pay your bills, but at least you're protecting your savings.